Hello, dear friends. Incredible changes are taking place around the world that represent a major global shift. The economy is not the prettiest part of this story, but it is what is currently driving the world and the most visible part of the change. Opinion piece. Gold rush. History repeats itself. Gold and oil are on the rise. Countries repatriate their gold. The storm is raging. Big changes are coming. The economy is about to turn around. China and Russia are the circuit breakers. Ban on Russian oil is under consideration. Russia is the most sanctioned country in the world. Already has 2,778 new restrictive measures. China is expected to announce its gold stockpile. Gold prices poised for a big strike. This would give the yuan full access to the world's reserve pool. It would invoke the gold standard embodied in the Paris Agreement. European Union to eliminate Russian gas, oil and coal imports. This could cause oil to rise to $300 a barrel. Russia's energy cut triggers a global food crisis. Let's start. Most countries repatriate their gold and abandon the dollar by the survival economist. All hell breaks loose over Russian oil embargo fears. Futures stocks plunge as oil soars to $139. Gold hits $2,000 an ounce. Hungary's gold repatriation adds to the growing outcry against dollar hegemony. The National Bank of Hungary is set to repatriate its nearly 3 tons of gold from England. This is not an unusual move. In recent years, we have seen its gold repatriated from various locations to countries such as Germany, Austria, Belgium, Venezuela, and the Netherlands. The Hungarian National Bank's decision to retain its $130 million in gold was explained for security reasons in case of a geopolitical crisis like the current one. It is also defended with the general tendency of countries to keep their national reserves in sovereign territory. This decision was made in 2018 and has been delayed due to various circumstances. The pace seems to have accelerated since Venezuela decided to repatriate its 180 tons of gold in 2011. In recent months, 100 tons, or about 8,000 gold bars, were secretly transported from the vaults of the Bank of England in London to Poland. Also, inspired by the Polish example, Slovakia considers repatriating gold from the UK. Serbia later joined Slovakia in this sudden trend of repatriating gold from Eastern Europe. Countries all over the world are trying to get rid of their dependence on the dollar by buying the yellow metal. One example is Slovakia. It is now thinking of restoring its gold reserves from UK banks, something Poland did a week ago. Switches. Welcome to a new gold rush. The main disruptors are China and Russia, but Eastern Europe is now joining in for its own reasons as many. Slovakia has its own gold reserves in the UK, and now the former Prime Minister is trying to get them back. Days earlier, Poland withdrew 100 tons of its gold reserves from the Bank of England, and the Polish National Bank was certainly happy about it. Other Eastern European countries, such as Hungary and Serbia, began withdrawing their gold last year. People in Eastern European nations are not as drowned in propaganda as the West is. Likewise, they know how easy it is to be fooled by fools. Russia has a long way to go to strengthen ties with many of these nations, but it is definitely going in the wrong direction. Interestingly, it seems that Macron is the first Western leader to see what is happening. He can't be trusted, but it is interesting that France is somewhat breaking ranks with Merkel and the European Union over NATO. Germany just increased its own gold reserves for the first time in 21 years. Global tension caused by economic sanctions as trade disputes have forced the countries concerned to look for a new payment system to replace the current dollar-dominated one. Russia, China, India, Japan, Turkey, Venezuela, and Iran have all moved away from the dollar, even divesting their holdings of US debt and increasing their respective gold reserves. Why Europe, China, and Russia are accelerating the process of de-dollarization can only be understood by understanding the significance of the Iran deal. Iran is, above all, a concrete example of what Washington can do to you if you expose yourself to the dollar for better or worse. But in order to engage in international trade, the Iranians had to rely on the dollar and the SWIFT system, which handles international payments. SWIFT belongs to an international banking consortium and is even based in Belgium within the European Union. However, the US was able to exert enough pressure to exclude Iran from SWIFT. The US is widely using the dollar as a weapon, and with every dollar transaction, one is forced to follow the sanctions against Iran. For example, when it comes to oil exports to a European country, Europe, China, Russia, and many small countries establish new initiatives every year to become independent. Global collapse. Financial analyst Martin Armstrong is of the opinion that the so-called Davos Grand Reset Plan of the New World Order is falling apart and noted in quotes. They are basically desperate at the moment. I don't think they have anticipated the amount of the resistance they are getting. In his view, the Ukraine crisis is a huge resistance to their plans. Armstrong opined it is total insanity. They are really, at this stage, completely collapsing the world economy. Everything is in quotes. You have Apple and all these companies. There are over 300 US companies in Russia. Their assets are going to be seized. They are all in panic mode now to get out. And you are going to see the same situation with China. This is insane. When you start cutting off trade on both sides, you are killing the world economy. Armstrong says inflation is here to stay, and it will be huge in some areas. Armstrong says, buy everything you think you will need because it will never get cheaper and may not even be available in the future at any price. Food is high on Armstrong's list, and he says to have good old-fashioned money on hand because of the cyber attacks and power outages he sees coming in some areas. Armstrong also sees an average inflation rate of 25% by 2024. He sees everything going up in price, and that includes gold and silver. Interest rates would also go up, and the stock market wouldn't do well with the trend of rising interest rates. Armstrong believes that communism is what the New World Order really wants. The globalists want communism, but the problem is that it doesn't work, he says. He blames the leaders for the mess the world is in. Armstrong says, it is their fault. This is the worst crop of world leaders I have ever seen. The level of stupidity on the world stage is breathtaking. Close quotes. He also predicts that civil unrest will not only continue, it will get much worse. Opinion. Opinions in plural. Opinion by Charles Ward. The world now expects China to announce its gold holdings in Beijing at some point. This act would give the Chinese yuan full access to the IMF's basket of global reserve currencies, known as special drawing rights, replacing the dollar as the world's most influential currency. This press release invokes the gold standard embodied in the United Nations Paris Agreement and would initiate disclosure protocols for currency revaluation. Gold prices set for a big strike by Stanberry Research. In quotes, monetary policy going forward will dictate what the gold price will do, says Rudy Frank, founder and president of the Seabridge Gold. We think the Fed will get it wrong, keeping rates low, and mining stocks must regain their reputation, so they don't fall behind the gold market as the money moves forward. In quotes again, I am bullish on gold now because of what's happening in the global financial system, he says, and I think it is getting up for a big run. Silver railed again amid rumors that Russia will move to a gold-backed currency. Silver railed again as the situation in Ukraine continues to escalate. Some sources report that a Russian move to a gold-backed currency would no longer be just a hypothetical idea. Global financial crisis. Stocks fall, oil soars, gold hits $2,000 and concerns about Ukraine. Dow Jones futures fall nearly 500 points as the US and its allies weighed a ban on Russian oil imports. European currencies fell to new lows amid fears of a major inflationary impact on the global economy, with traders turning to traditional safe havens such as the Swiss franc and the US dollar as the war in Ukraine escalates. Canada's stock market is staking through the global turmoil. The war in Europe is driving up commodity prices as interest rates rise, and central banks try to curb inflation. Pressure is being felt around the world as investors price in a slower economic growth and lower corporate profitability. Breaking news. Putin's Russia hit by a wall of international sanctions. Russia has become the most sanctioned country in the world. As of February 22nd, it became the target of 2,778 new restrictive measures. Russia offers humanitarian corridors from 5 Ukrainian cities. Kiev refuses to cooperate to evacuate civilians, according to the Russian ambassador to the UN. Ukraine calls Russia's proposal to allow humanitarian corridors with exit to enemy lands immoral. The Hague Tribunal assesses the war in Ukraine. European Union approves directive to give temporary protection to the Ukrainians. The European Union agrees to start for accession process for Ukraine, Moldova and Georgia. Moldova denies that it wants wants to join NATO. Russia could disconnect from the internet to control information about the war. Food prices soar amid Ukraine crisis. Russia's energy shock is turning into a global food crisis. The European Union will eliminate Russian imports of gas, oil and coal. The price of a barrel of crude oil could reach $300 if an embargo on Russian oil is declared. Moscow could ban the pumping of gas to Europe through the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. Technology stocks fall almost 4% on Wall Street, whose indexes close in the red. All stock markets fall. European stock markets opened in the red on Monday. The Frankfurt Stock Exchange fell by 3.67% at the opening. The Paris Stock Exchange by 2.88% and the Milan Stock Exchange by 2.45%. The Moscow Stock Exchange was closed for another day. The World Bank approves $723 million in aid for Ukraine. Russia wants over oil important ban. A Western ban on Russian oil imports could more than double the price to $300 a barrel of crude and trigger the closure of the main gas pipeline to Germany Moscow wanted Monday. The war in Ukraine puts tens of millions of hectares of grain at stake, says a University of Illinois economist. Europe is threatened by a food crisis associated with insufficient grain and fertilizer supplies from Russia and Ukraine. Europeans stock up on iodine tablets because of nuclear threat. No more grain will be exported from Hungary as the world heads for crisis. Gas prices in the European Union exceeds $3,000 per 1,000 cubic meters for the first time. The price of electricity in Spain soars to more than 400 euros per megawatt hour. China's agriculture minister says winter wheat condition may be the worst in history. The West drought in decades has affected all of North Africa. Morocco has had the least amount of rain for the grain season in just 3 decades. King Mohammed VI called on the whole country to pray for rain. Ericsson sued in New York on suspicion of bribery and financing Daesh. More than 1.7 million Ukrainians have fled to Central Europe, says United Nations. Reflection. The storm is raging. In quotes, all of us have seen sudden storms in our lifetime. Some of them, though temporary like those of the Sea of Galilee, could be violent, frightening and potentially destructive. As individuals, families, communities and nations, sudden guts arise that have caused us to ask, Master, do you not care that we perish? And in one way or another, he always hears in the stillness that follows the storm. Why are you so afraid? How is it that you have no faith? Mary Ann Baker, writer of the text of the beautiful song Master, the Storm is Raging, said after a particularly difficult ordeal over the death of her parents and brother, in quotes, I became perversely rebellious in the face of this dispensation of divine providence. I said in my heart that God didn't care for me and mine. but the Master's own voice stilled the tempest in my unsanctified heart and brought it to the calm of deeper faith and more perfect trust. Sign it, Howard W. Hunter. Huge sunspot. At this moment, the Earth is moving deeper into a solar wind stream flowing at more than 500 kilometers per second from an equatorial hole in the Sun's atmosphere. The action of the current produced a G1 class geomagnetic storm at noon on March 5th. Huge sunspot spinning toward Earth by Michael Love and the Pleiadians. Inside chatter from coalition members around the world indicates a high probability of a major solar event occurring in the next few days on Earth. The massive and highly active sunspot AR 2936, which has increased in size, is spinning toward Earth as we speak, and in a few days, planet Earth will be directly exposed to the potential of this huge and stable solar region. This monstrous sunspot is the one that shined 40 Starlink satellites and caused them to fall to Earth a fortnight ago, and AR 2936 is also the sunspot that exploded off the back of the Sun on February 15th, sending an incredible galaxy-sized shockwave through the solar system. The February 15 solar explosion was not only the largest X-ray burst in this solar cycle, it was the largest solar flare ever recorded. What may hit the Earth is an intelligently controlled level of cosmic light that would be just the right amount to enhance the Earth's DNA. If the flare were large enough, there is a chance that the dormant human genetic code could be reactivated. No great harm to planet Earth or humankind as a whole can occur at this time due to the planetary ascension process that is taking place. Protection. Highly advanced beings in Earth's solar system at this time have absolute control of the power of any solar or other major event affecting Earth, so you can be assured that there is absolutely nothing to fear. A similar situation occurred in the late 2018 when a potentially Earth-damaging superflare jumped from the Sun, and the shockwave was absorbed by a huge light ship positioned around the Sun. A major solar observatories on Earth filmed close-ups of this event, as well as of the craft, and of course this information was kept hidden from humans on Earth. Earth's light leaders are filled with excitement at this time and have incredible hope for the future of humankind. Our true purpose is coming to Earth is to assist humankind in its great evolutionary process, and when the great light arrives, we will witness this great event firsthand. The ancient civilizations on Earth have been able to see the modern timeline of Earth and speak of the time of the sixth sun, the return of the spectacular central solar light to Earth, bringing humankind into the Golden Age. Ancient Indian prophecies say that a flash of white magnetic light will be ejected from the Sun to Earth in our modern time, turning the Earth into a paradise and its beings into gods. The ancient Lemurians said that this Golden Age would appear shortly after the Earth entered the astrological age of Aquarius. The Earth re-entered the Aquarian age on 12/21/2021. The time of the sixth sun has arrived. In addition, the ancient writings of the Great White Brotherhood say that every 26,000 years the Sun moves to its deepest position into the photon belt and aligns with the galactic core. Directly in the center of the galactic core is a blinding fifth-dimensional star or sun called the central sun. It is called the black sun, the second sun, or the invisible sun. When these two suns align, a powerful transfer of energy occurs and the Earth's sun begins to have strong reactions to the exotic waves of light emitted by this central star in the Milky Way. This 26,000 years cosmic cycle began again on 12/21/2012, and the Sun is reaching a higher level of activity as of 2022. It is to say the second of February, last 2nd of February. The Pleiadians have said, in quotes, a strong X-class solar flare is known to be the triggering event that shuts down the 3D matrix forever and reactivates the dormant DNA strands of Earth beings, causing them to ascend to the new fifth-dimensional Earth. When things are right, we will see a blinding light come to Earth that will transmute everything on this world to a much higher order. Reports of planetary ascension symptoms have been many for over 30 consecutive days due to increased solar activity, and great activations are occurring among the star seeds. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.